Your package, as you all are well aware, is your billboard to your consumers. It's the means of communicating many pieces of information in a quick and efficient manner. It's also what every national brand manufacturer and store brand retailer is held responsible for and is liable for. In addition, for the store brand manufacturers, those claims are what you're promoting to your retail partner and what you must have the appropriate substantiation and documentation to support. I'm sure everyone on the call today is aware of what's going on in the state of New York and with store brands, so the impetus is even greater. If you claim it, prove it. And that means to do that, you need to utilize recognized certification programs such as the EPA's Safer Choice. And with that, let me introduce Clive Davies from the EPA. Clive?
Well, thanks for the introduction, Alan. So I'm Clive Davis. I run the Design for the Environment program, which has our Safer Choice, the agency Safer Choice label. I'm very, very happy to have the opportunity to tell everyone here today about the program, but I thought I would start out with this video that our administrator made to announce the logo. I think it does a nice job of telling folks what this logo is all about and what it means to people. And I am waiting for the screen to refresh, and as soon as it does, I am going to play the video for you. And here it comes.
Okay, ready, Em? You ready, Em? We gonna be good? We got it this time, right? Good girl. Hi, I'm Gina McCarthy, Administrator of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and I'm here with my dog, Emma. We all want the cleaning products we use in our homes to be safe for our kids, our pets, and the environment. So today, EPA is unveiling a new label we call Safer Choice, so you can choose safer home cleaning products. Starting later this summer, all right, can I start over again? Emma, cooperate. You don't need to lie down every time. Starting later this spring and summer, you'll see the Safer Choice label on products like kitchen and bath cleaners, carpet cleaners, and laundry detergents and more. And that's good news for all of us, because for lots of reasons, children and pets are more vulnerable than adults to chemicals and pollutants. Even though my children are all grown up, we have Emma at home, and she's part of our family. She weighs only 8 pounds, and her little nose is never far from the furniture or the floor. So you bet I'll be looking for Safer Choice labels when I go shopping. Major companies have already volunteered to make and sell products that meet EPA's scientific standards and earn our Safer Choice label. So look for products with the Safer Choice label when they hit the stores later this spring. You'll feel good about your choice, and you'll reward companies that invest in your family's safety. Safer products matter to all of us. Right, Emmy? Oh, she said yes. I heard her. Good girl. I know it.
So I hope you enjoyed that little video. We were thrilled that the administrator took the time to make that video. What I'd like to do with a very quick presentation that'll leave plenty of time for comments and questions is I would like to tell you what we believe the Safer Choice label says to consumers. What's the message that they get when they see the Safer Choice label on a product? I want to give you a sense of what we do in EPA, in the Safer Choice program, to review products as they come into us and make sure that they meet our standard and continue to meet our standards over time. So rigor and stringency, and that if you highlight sustainability associated with the Safer Choice program, that really means something special as far as EPA is concerned, and that's why we frankly allow EPA on the label of Safer Choice products. I want to tell you a little bit about tools that we've got. First of all, a technical tool that helps the folks who make the products find the chemicals that can be used in those products, our Safer Chemical Ingredients list. I also want to tell you about how you could look, or anyone could look, a consumer could look, and find which products qualify to bear the logo and how that list is sorted out, how it's organized. And then what we're planning right now for communications and outreach to get the word out on our new logo. Now, so what is this Safer Choice program? So Safer Choice is a rebranding of a Design for the Environment program that has been around for about 15 years, labeling products. We've been labeling products primarily in the space where institutional purchasers would buy them, schools, municipalities, green buildings. But the agency saw an opportunity rather, to take this program and change it from a business purchaser program or a municipality purchaser program to a consumer purchasing program, where we could actually speak to consumers with a logo that they would understand, and hence a logo redesign from something that truly didn't speak to consumers very well to something that we believe does, based on a substantial amount of research that we've done in design design and development of this new logo. This program, the Design for the Environment and now Safer Choice program, draws on EPA's chemical expertise. We know quite a bit about chemicals. We regulate chemicals as they come into commerce. We have access to data on chemicals that often is not available to others, and certainly in the consolidated form, since we look at all chemicals that go into commerce in the U.S., we understand the broad classes of chemicals that can be used in cleaning and other types of products, so that we can be sure that the safest chemicals are actually used in the products that bear the logo. So if you're a consumer, what does this logo mean to you when you see it on a packet? Well, first of all, the message that we're trying to convey, that we intend to educate people on, is that it's safer for people, for families, and for pets, with a secondary message that it's safer for the environment. Now, that is a message that we developed based on our work through consumer focus groups and through online surveys and other means of actually thousands of people, and also through consultation with stakeholders, including brand managers, for example. So we think we got some pretty good input on what it is that we needed to say and how we needed to tailor our message so that it would work for consumers. The other thing is the verification by a trusted government agency, EPA. While EPA doesn't necessarily do that well in all areas in terms of consumer perception of EPA, EPA is viewed as a trusted source of information on products, and the consumer focus groups that we ran validated that for us, that having US EPA in the tagline of this Safer Choice logo was an important thing and an important selling point. Now, the agency feels that Safer Choice, the Environmental Protection Agency, feels that Safer Choice is an important opportunity for us to deliver a message to consumers about EPA. You know, we're seen as telling people what they can't do. We'd like to be able to tell people about what's better and what they can do to protect the environment and protect their health. And buying products with this logo is one thing that they can do to make that happen. And we are very pleased to be part of that in this program. Now, what's behind the label? You know, why is a product with this label something that you can trust if you're a consumer or you're a retailer? Well, first of all, we have a set of standards that have to be met for a product to bear the Safer Choice logo. Every single chemical in every single product has to go through our review process. It has to show that we have to confirm here at EPA that these chemicals are safer than others in their class for human health and for the environment. So we do that for every single chemical. And we don't just do that based on what are the known problematic chemicals? What are the ones that are on government bad lists, for example? You know, those obviously wouldn't be used, but the issue with these chemicals is that for many of them, there's very little information available. And you can imagine that sort of the way that this manifests itself is that government blacklists or red lists, the ones in the U.S. and the ones in Europe, grow over time, and that's because over time more information becomes available on chemicals. And if you're relying on those lists, you're in a kind of a reactive mode. But if you're relying on the Safer Choice program and thinking about, well, they look at every single chemical, they look at all the data that's available, they do modeling where there's no data available for certain endpoints, you know, the thing that you end up with there is a very proactive approach to making sure that you have the safest chemicals, and that environmental working group is not going to end up coming after you because of problematic chemicals in your products that you didn't even know were there in the first place. So it's a great insurance policy, frankly. The other thing that you've got here is that the company who makes the product and EPA sign a partnership agreement that says, this is the way that I'm going to make the product, and over time I'm going to make it even better as better chemicals become available, because the chemical industry is innovating and making better chemicals all the time. And there are also annual audits to make sure that these products are formulated as advertised. Now, Nancy Lindy's going to be on after me, and she's going to talk about process a little bit, but I wanted you to see the way that we see the process, which is basically if you're a manufacturer, a product manufacturer, here in the upper left-hand corner orange box, you have to submit a product to EPA or to a third-party profiler like NSF, who actually does the lion's share of the work for us, frankly, in reviewing these products. You submit to a third-party profiler. NSF is one of those. They do an evaluation of the product, prepare a great deal of data for us, and communicate back with the applicant that, hey, this is good enough, or hey, you know, you need to make some changes before you can have your product bear the logo. And then a similar process in green where it comes through EPA with another feedback loop that if it doesn't meet our standards, it has to be changed before it can bear the logo. So it's a very rigorous process. Wanted to tell you about tools. If you again were a product manufacturer and you were wondering, well, how do I make a product that meets this criteria, this Safer Choice criteria, or if you've submitted to NSF, for example, and NSF says, hey, you know, unfortunately, one of the ingredients doesn't meet the criteria, you can go to EPA's Safer Chemical List. You can say, okay, well, I've got a surfactant that doesn't meet the criteria. I need a surfactant that does. You have a choice of several hundred surfactants that can actually be used in that product. So this is a really great tool that helps the folks who would supply retailers find safer chemicals to go in their products. And the other thing that it does is it's a great place for chemical manufacturers to have their chemical products listed, so that there's a benefit to the chemical manufacturers from making safer chemicals, because EPA is going to highlight them as available, which is, I think, a fantastic positive thing that EPA can do, again. Now, our safer chemical ingredient list, if you were curious about it, you could look at it on our website. And kind of a neat thing here, there's a little bit of information about the list, and then you can see expanded on the bottom of this page here, actual listing of chemicals that are indicated with the way EPA thinks about them, with a little geometric color code with green circles or yellow triangles, depending upon where they are in terms of meeting our criteria. But the other thing here, that with this red circle around it, is our criteria for every subcategory of chemical. And if you were very curious about knowing what our criteria is, you could look for chelating agents, you could look for surfactants, solvents, the list goes on, and say, okay, what does EPA consider to be too aquatically toxic to be used in one of these products? Or what about cancer? What kind of evidence do you look for that endpoint? All that is here and accessible to you in a very transparent fashion. So a little more about our logos, our labels, Safer Choice labels. We developed over the course of about a year this new Safer Choice label with a great deal of input from our partners, who included product manufacturers, retailers, environmental, non-governmental organizations like Environmental Defense, Sierra Club, and the list goes on. And we asked those folks, our stakeholders, first, well, what do you think we ought to be doing? Well, they said, number one, you need to get rid of that old logo that we don't like very much. But over time, we figured out, iteratively, frankly, we figured out that what we needed was to appeal to consumers who were very concerned about their health, do have a secondary concern about the environment, and which terminology could we use to convey that information. And of course, we needed to put EPA in the mark itself. And this is the little family of logos that we came up with. The one on the left side, the largest one, is our primary logo with a house with people in it indicating health, with a secondary message with the leaves for the environment. The colors speak to consumers based on our research, and our consumer research, I suppose, is just the best thing to say about it. The second logo has a circle rather than a house, just so that you understand that's for the institutional market who felt that the house talked too much about people's homes and didn't really work for office buildings as well. So we have the circle on top instead in that middle logo. And on the right-hand side, we would confirm manufacturers' claims of fragrance-free, because there's a substantial audience out there of people who would prefer to have fragrance-free products. Now, this page shows you the website at the top shows you where you can go to look for safer products. This is the EPA's website, or you could take the very simple move of typing in Safer Choice products into Google. That'll get you to the same place. And you can go to this site. You can get a list of Safer Choice products. We update it very frequently. There are a lot of products up there. The majority right now are in the institutional space, the janitorial products, but there's a substantial number of consumer products up there as well, branded products as well as store brand products. Broad range of categories. I'm going to show you on the next slide all the categories, but it's largely laundry and cleaning, but there are quite a few other categories. And then potential for expansion. We've actually begun to expand into the personal care area, but there are a number of other areas as well. And so you can see here, this is a subset of the sectors of types of products. These are things that you would expect to see in a grocery store or a hardware store as well. And we have a number of hand soaps that you can see over here on the right-hand side under health and beauty. Hand soaps with, we're actually looking at labeling some other personal care products right now beyond hand soaps, which is where we have started right now. But if you can think about Safer Choice products as being wet chemical products generally, they're things that you would pour out or put on a rag or something like that out of a container. So communications and outreach. So this is important going forward for us. The agency is very interested. The Environmental Protection Agency is very interested in working with partners to promote the program. You know, I want to be completely straightforward. We don't have a huge budget for TV advertising or things like that, but we are very interested in working in partnership with product manufacturers, environmental NGOs, retailers, product distributors. You know, the list goes on of people that we could work with to make opportunities to get the word out on the new logo, or the new label rather, to facilitate getting the word out. We are putting together toolkits that can be used by product manufacturers, retailers, and others. And there are a number of opportunities that we're working on right now. We're aiming for having products on the shelf actually toward the very end of the spring and over the summertime. But leading up to that, we want to have a little bit of activity going on. We're planning product launches, for example, on Earth Day for some of the first products that are going to be on shelves. Earth Day is April the 22nd this year. We're also having Partner of the Year awards here in Washington that will recognize retailers, product manufacturers, environmental NGOs who have made substantial contributions to the program. And we will, next year, the EPA administrator will recognize the people from those groups again for their efforts in promoting the new logo. Will be the focus for next year's Partner of the Year awards. I hope that would be a valuable thing for some of the folks on the line. And then a big push we're looking at in the fall or in the late summer for back to school, and having as much consumer-facing outreach as we can put together with a range of partners. And the idea on our part is that where the agency can help a company promote these safer products, that we would like to be involved in that. And really, I don't think I've said this, but the bottom line is that manufacturers and sellers of products that are safer for people and the environment should have an advantage in the marketplace. And to the degree that the agency can contribute to that, that's what we would like to do. We would like to help folks have an advantage in the marketplace. And we believe that our new label does that. We're looking at outreach to long-lead magazines on TV and radio, in trade magazines, working with bloggers, especially mommy bloggers, and social media. Those are some of the things that we're working on. Now, if you'd like to partner with us in this work, and we would really encourage you to do that, there's contact information at the end of this presentation for me, for Clive Davis, but also for Bridget Williams, who is our outreach lead. We really would love to work with you on this. A retailer could encourage suppliers to work toward getting the Safer Choice label. A message from a retailer to a supplier that, hey, we would really like to be able to promote products with this label, that is something that we would welcome. We would also be interested in working towards store-branded products. We've done that a great deal to date, and that is an area where store-branded products might be able to get an advantage in sales. So that's something that we'd like to work on, and we're quite familiar with working with the private label manufacturers. And promoting Safer Choice labeled products. These are the kinds of activities that would move someone toward the potential for Partner of the Year status next year. In-store displays, educating customers, working with EPA to promote products. And with that, that's the end of my presentation. I believe that my contact information and Bridget Williams' contact information is at the end of this presentation, so that you can easily get in contact with us. And I'm going to turn it over to Nancy Lindy now from NSF, who can tell you about the process of working with NSF to get products into our program and how that works.
Thank you, Clive. This is Nancy Lindy, and I'm the Managing Toxicologist at NSF in our Green Chemistry program. I just have a couple slides here just to give you a flavor for what it's like when you submit a product for review, the different steps that you will go through, and the types of information that we gather and review. The first slide here, we talk about ingredient profiling. One of the things that is unique to the Safer Choice program and adds to the integrity of this program is that we review all intentionally added ingredients. So we not only look at your first-tier ingredients, but also if you have proprietary ingredients, we work with your supply chain to gather information from them on, what exactly are those proprietary ingredients composed of. We look at every intentionally added ingredient That is different than some of the other eco-labeling programs that are out there and unique to Safer Choice. What we're looking for is that each of those ingredients is sort of best in class, if you will, so that surfactants are best in class. Surfactants, you know, we're looking for things that they are readily biodegradable, that they're not toxic to aquatic species. We look at polymers, and there's a specific set of polymer criteria. One of the earlier slides, Clive showed you the link to those individual class-based criteria. So there are specific criteria for each type of ingredient. Again, each of the ingredients, we're looking for things that are best in class. And when we identify something that is not best in class, we put together a report, and we would tell you, for example, that you know, one of the ingredients might be targeted for improvement, meaning it has room for improvement, but it's not horrible. You know, in other words, you can use this ingredient, but you might want to look at some other options to try to improve the overall profile of the product. And if there's an ingredient that doesn't meet the class-based criteria, for example, if you have a surfactant that doesn't meet the criteria, we would try to recommend for you alternatives. Clive mentioned the DFE Safer Chemical Ingredients list, which has hundreds of alternatives on there. Sometimes there's other alternatives that we can recommend in the body of a report also. We're also, the second bullet on this slide talks about more stringent environmental criteria for direct release products. We just like to call out that there are times when certain types of end products have direct release to the environment based on their end use. And so this might be, for example, car washes, boat cleaners, a graffiti remover, ice melts that are, you know, applied directly to the ground. Those types of products don't go through, generally don't go through the potable water treatment system. So they're directly added to the environment. They have slightly more stringent criteria, and I believe that also is unique to the Safer Choice program. Some of the other things that we look at on a high level, each product we look at the pH to make sure it's not too acidic or corrosive. Product performance is the second bullet there, very, very important to the Safer Choice program. Again, this is about integrity. Achieving the Safer Choice logo is something to be very proud of. It is a high standard intentionally. Product performance, what we're looking for is assurance that the product performs as it should. We want to avoid greenwashing. If the product is formulated for the environment with human health and safety of the environment incorporated into it, it also has to perform. Performance usually, depending on the product category, we may look at ASTM methods. For example, with a glass cleaner, we would be looking at data to demonstrate that the glass cleaner doesn't smudge or smear and that it can remove certain types of dirt. With a laundry detergent, we would look at CSPA methods to make sure that it can remove certain types of stains. And along that note, we also look to make sure that for products that are diluted, that the minimum recommended dilution that's on the product label, that the product performs at that minimum recommended dilution. Some of the other things we're looking at, ingredient disclosure is also very important these days. Transparency is huge with consumers. They want to know what's in the products that they're buying. The Safer Choice criteria require full disclosure on a product label, with a few exceptions for trade secret ingredients. So we are looking to ensure that all ingredients are listed on the product label, generally in descending order of prominence, except for ingredients below 1% can be disclosed in any order. So that's similar to other types of ingredient disclosure guidelines that are gaining in the consumer-facing aspects. The next bullet is sustainable packaging, and I'm going to have my next slide goes into a little bit deeper dive on that, so I'll skip over that for now. Packaging purity is referring to what the materials are made out of, ensuring that there's no heavy metals or phthalates, certain other ingredients that we don't like to see in packaging. VOCs, we are looking at to make sure that the product complies with the California Air Resources Board, also known as CARB, and the OTC, Ozone Transportation Commission. And then flammability, just make sure that products are not highly flammable. And then wipes, we see a lot of cleaning materials or cleaning formulas that have wipes in them, and those need to be either compostable or flushable. Next, please. Okay, sustainable packaging, I think, is very important to many of the people that are on the call today. So we have one slide dedicated to this. What the Safer Choice program requires is that the primary packaging, so primary referring to the packaging that's in direct contact with the chemical product, it has to meet one of these 6 criteria for at least 25% of the material. And these criteria here are derived from the Sustainable Packaging Coalition. So if you're familiar with the SPC, that is directly where these criteria come from. This is their indices and metrics. So the types of things we're looking at are the materials manufactured using renewable energy? Are the materials, do they have recyclable content in them, or are they recyclable themselves? Are they produced using clean production technologies and best practices? And then other things like, is the material design such that it optimizes material use and energy? So those types of things. Let me go to the next slide, Ryan. This is my last slide here. Just want to talk a little bit about the timeline. That's always very important to people who are new to the program. How long does this process take? The NSF review process generally takes about 6 weeks. It takes us 6 weeks to gather the information from the formulators. Again, you submit an application to NSF International. This is assuming we've already quoted out the review, of course, and quotes are free. The review process, we gather your formulation, we ask you for information on your packaging. Like we said, what is it made out of? Those sustainable packaging elements, do you meet 25% or more for one of them? Or more than one of them. We ask for product labels so we can see that the use instructions, again, we have to look at performance data, so we're going to ask for that, and that it corresponds with what's being claimed on the product label. And then we begin to evaluate the formulation itself, which again requires that we not only look at the ingredients that you know of, for example, most of the ingredients that are in your products and the CAS number and the chemical names, but sometimes there's proprietary ingredients. And then we have to reach out to those suppliers. Sometimes that requires that we are setting up a new non-disclosure agreement so they can be ensured that their products will remain confidential. And we can still do the review, though, and let you know that it meets the Safer Choice criteria. And developing profiles for ingredients we've never seen before can also be time-consuming. So collectively, it's a lot of things that add up, and that is the reason it takes 6 weeks to get through the NSF portion of the review. When we are done with our review, we forward a report first to you, make sure that you're comfortable with it and that we don't have any major errors or whatever the case may be. Once we have your permission, then we forward it on to EPA, and they have about a 6-week queue as well. The third bullet there talks about a 3-year partnership agreement. Clive mentioned earlier that this is a partnership agreement, and all products are reviewed on a 3-year cycle. So your initial review is year 1, and then in year 2, you can either have a desk audit or an on-site audit, and then year 3 would be the other one that you didn't do. So in year 2, if you did your desk audit, year 3 would be your on-site audit, or vice versa. The 3-year mark starts the initial review process over again, and that's what we call a refresh review or renewal. And that's the same timeline, again, 6 weeks for NSF and 6 weeks for Safer Choice. Sometimes those can go quicker depending on how many changes have occurred with your product and your packaging, et cetera. At this point, I would like to turn it back over to Alan.
Yes, indeed. I wanted to get off the mute myself. Thank you, Nancy and Clive, for your information. In understanding the process, as we said at the beginning, if you claim it, prove it. And as we saw at the beginning, the billboard, the packaging demonstrates the claims that are out there. And the hope is by using appropriate certification programs, there's some credibility and some substance behind those claims, and that you can support and defend those statements. The idea is that by seeing these claims and backed up by known certified programs, you bring to the marketplace what's necessary, what's needed, and what's desired from that. Many of these things are present and are available through these programs, so we wanted to make you aware of that. We appreciate your time and attention to the matters here, and at this time we'll kind of move over to specific questions. I'm sure there are a few that I'm seeing.